sample and statistics, right? You have a sample, you have a statistic, you have a population, you have a parameter. If you keep that straight, you're all right. But if you didn't, you kind of messed up a little bit. On the second page, questions about the type of sampling technique used. Pretty much everybody did well, except there's several of you who flip-flop, cluster, and stratified. Anybody do that? Flip-flop, cluster, and stratified? Okay, that's great. Okay, well, that's not great, Jordan, but nonetheless, okay. The stratified is you have a segment, you identify a segment. I want all the people over 30, and I want all the people under 30, okay? And you sample to get both of those segments filled up. In a cluster, you say, I got a whole bunch of clusters, I can't possibly travel to all of these places, not enough time, not enough money, so let me randomly select a cluster, and you just go get every piece of data in that cluster with a random selection of the cluster. Okay, number 19. I think a lot of people had pretty good answers. I gave some people partial credit, but the big issue here is what's called a bias sample. And it's biased because how many people listen to radio shows that they hate and they disagree with the person who's the announcer? Okay, Tyler, you're definitely in the minority. Okay, most of the time when I flip on the radio, I say, "Oh, I like this show. I kind of agree with the announcer. Okay, I want to listen to what they have to say." Well, therein lies the problem. Tyler's the only one that is objectively listening to all radio shows. Most of us listen to people we agree with, we find interesting, we find entertaining. Okay, and when they say, "I'd like all of you people who agree with me to call in and help me take this survey," what do you think happens? Most of the people agree with whatever the point of view is, okay? So there's a bias, there's a built-in bias. The other reason that it's biased is because it's self-selecting. The term self-selecting means that you're all invited to participate, great, and only the people who say, well, I want to participate, call in, and so it's potentially biased, and it's called self-selection bias, okay? So there's several elements of bias going on here with the way the survey is being presented. I'm not so much worried about the fact that they only had 1,200 people. 1,200 people is a lot of people. If it's a representative sample, I mean, if it represents all of the people who are concerned with this problem, that's a pretty good sample size. It's not bad. It's not the size of the sample, it's the quality of this sample that is not good. Okay? Let's take a look at the next part. Everybody did pretty well in the data, the mean, the median, the mode, the 5% trim mean. People did pretty good. Oh, how many people lost a half a point when I circled round the answer to one more decimal place than the original data? Anybody lose a half a point there? Several of you did. Okay. What does that mean? What was I trying to tell you? Round your answer to one more decimal place than the original data. The original data is given in what? Whole numbers. So the measuring device that was decided here was in whole numbers, a whole car. It doesn't make sense to go to the thousandth place with the average or the standard deviation. Okay? So one more decimal place would be you give your answer to the 10th place, one decimal point. Okay? 24 and 25. If you knew what the standard deviation and the variance were, most people did pretty well. Some people did not come close there, but one is the square root of the other, right? The sample standard deviation is S, the variance is S squared. You could have found one and then just squared it, and that was the other. 50th percentile is another name for what? The median. The median is the middle observation, okay? So I've got 8 observations there. The median must be between the 4th and the 5th observation. So halfway between 18 and 23, that's the middle. So halfway between 18 and 23 is 20.5. You take those two and you average them. That's the middle. The 75th percentile is halfway between the 50th and the 100, and so you're going to go between 44 and 56. Now let's look at 28. 28, I almost felt bad about it. I don't think compassion is one of my stronger characteristics, but you almost had me crying it looked like several of you read the first part and not the second part, because it says, oh, I got this distribution that is symmetric and bell-shaped, and here's the mean and here's the standard deviation. And then immediately everybody said, well, it follows the empirical rule. Well, it does. There's no question about it. That's what bell-shaped and symmetric mean. And the answer, if I had asked, based on the empirical rule, what percentages between those two standard deviations would have been 95%, plus or minus 2 standard deviations. But that's actually not what the second sentence said. The second sentence says, using Chebyshev's theorem. And he is less precise, okay, and the answer was 75%. So I felt bad for a few moments marking the 95% people wrong, but I got over that, okay? So it was like Jeopardy. It was a good answer for the wrong question, actually. Okay? It was an excellent answer. It is the wrong question. 29. Look down the bottom. I gave you a hint. This question is a bit tricky. Read it over a couple of times. Note that all the employees are being polled. What was I trying to tell you there? There's the whole population, right? He's got 6 employees or whatever, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 employees. And so you had
Population
weird situation.
standard.
You had the whole population.
Mm-hmm.
So you should use the population standard deviation, okay? So those of you, I think I didn't take full credit off if you put the sample standard deviation. I think I took 1.5 points off, didn't I? I felt so bad after the other one, I had to pass it on this one. And the rest of the page, the cumulative was pretty good. You had to know what cumulative meant, but mostly you did pretty well. Some of you lost a half a point by not putting a key. And then let's go to the last page. Everybody did pretty good on the frequency table and the picture, okay? But not everybody got the last part, which was take the group data and give me the sample mean and the sample standard deviation from the group data. What did I mean by group data? What were you supposed to use to figure out the mean and the standard deviation there? The midpoints. So many of you gave me the mean and the standard deviation from the data, which was, again, a great answer, but the wrong question. And the idea here was to take the midpoints and then figure out the mean and standard deviation from the midpoints as we have done before. Okay? So I will put this out, which is my version of the answers during the break. And if you have any questions, you should definitely see me. The other thing is that you should definitely, because in the last class I already made like one mistake on somebody's paper, you should look at what I circled and then make sure that I didn't cheat you. So what I mean by cheating you is add up all the points that I circled, subtract them 100, and make sure my arithmetic is correct. Okay? So if I cheated you, let me know. Now, if for some reason I made a mistake in your favor, you don't have to let me know. Don't feel ethically bound to let me know that, I